I knew when I was flying through the windshield of the car, when I got in the air, I knew I was going to die. I could look down on the ground and I knew I was going to hit that ground and die. At that moment, my soul, okay, that unconscious part of you, that soul part,
Yeah.
it left me and went to the other side with this angel.
Okay, welcome back, beautiful souls, to Gateway to Another Reality. Today's guest is someone whose life changed in an instant. At just 19 years old, this woman was involved in a devastating accident that brought her to the edge of death and beyond it. And during her near-death experience, she describes entering a state of profound peace, unconditional love, and expanded awareness. But what makes her story especially compelling is this: she says she has given a message, a task to bring back. A message from the spiritual realm that challenges one of the humanity's deepest fears. She returned with the understanding that death is not an ending and that we are far more than our physical bodies. In this interview, we will explore what she experienced, how it transformed her life, and what she believes we are here to remember. So let's begin. Warm welcome, Nicole Kerr.
Oh, thank you so much, Marika. What a beautiful introductory. I'm so delighted to be on your show today.
Thank you. And I am truly grateful that I finally got to meet you.
Same here.
You sent me a video about the winter storms in North Carolina. Has it gone any better now?
It's still very cold, but we had 15 inches of snow and
Ooh.
the whole town was shut down because we don't ever have this. It's very, very rare we get, freezing or below freezing temperatures. So school's been out, the city business is closed, and it's actually been fun. And the city has been beautiful, layered with this, but we don't know how to drive in it. So people are trying to, they're having crashes and they're hitting curbs.
Oh, yeah, I
It's,
understand.
so that's
Yeah.
the waiting for the snow to melt, but it has been absolutely
Mm.
magical. A winter wonderland, which I know you guys experience every winter, but it's very,
Yeah,
very new for us.
yeah, it is beautiful. But really, if you don't have the winter tires, I know how hard it
No.
is to drive without them. So, yeah. In your book, in the start, you were talking about your childhood. Could we talk a little bit about that? Because I think somehow it's connected to this all.
Oh, it's
Just-
definitely connected to to all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
In fact, all of our childhoods are connected to who we are today because our parents are our primary role models. And if you're never allowed to individuate and become your own being, which usually happens around 6 years old, you're going to become who they want you to be or who somebody else wants you to be. You don't ever get to really figure out for yourself who you are and what you want to do and have that support. So I grew up in the southern part of the United States in a very conservative part, very religious part. They actually call it the Bible Belt, okay, in the state of Mississippi. So I was really indoctrinated with a lot of religion, Christianity. My mother was Ukrainian and she believed in Lutheran uh, religion, and my dad was Southern Baptist. Now they are very opposite in terms of the belief. I mean, the belief in God is still there, but the rules were very, very different. So
yeah.
I got a lot of religion piled onto me as a child and as a teenager. We had to go to church twice on Sunday, once to the Baptist church, once to the Lutheran, during the week you had to go to different activities at the Baptist church. You'd have revivals, they call them, in where you go every single day for a week in the summers. So it was very much the cornerstone of our life was our church, the church activities, the socialization within the church. And what I learned was to fear God, because in Christianity, the God that is purported to people is one who is dual. It is one who is loving and caring and will be there for you. And then on the other hand, there's a whole set of rules besides the Ten Commandments. Each church has their own set of rules. And if you don't follow the rules, then you're going to be judged. You're going to be criticized. The wrath of God will come upon you. It's a bad thing, and it also brings to mind how most of those religions, you're born into a concept called original sin, which means you come out of your mother's belly and you're already bad. You're already a sinner. And I could never understand that. I'm like, I haven't even done anything bad yet, and you're already telling me I'm a sinner. So that never made sense to me. And what I know now, after having had my experience and delving into what my concept of God now is that's all man-made doctrine designed to elicit fear in every single one of us. Because if you're in fear, you can be controlled. And right now in America and in other parts of the world, there is a lot of fear being generated right now. And it is really stressing out a lot of people and causing them all kinds of physical and mental illnesses. But most of all, we are being controlled and told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So Christianity, in my opinion, those were my belief systems growing up, and I didn't even give it a second thought. My father was my earthly father, and then I had my heavenly father. And actually, I superimposed my earthly father onto God, because he was basically God here on earth. We had to follow his rules. He was a former Marine officer, so the military. He served, he was a helicopter pilot in the Bay of Pigs. So he was anybody that in the military, they're pretty much black and white. They don't live in a gray area. It's either yes, sir, no, sir. And that's how we were raised. And my dad was always right. It's something called dogmatically positioned, his way or the highway. He had no tolerance for us screwing up. So we were raised in that type of environment. My mother was an immigrant from the Ukraine. She married my father since he was in the military for security. Okay, so she was going to stick with him no matter what, because she had a sense of security, which she did not have growing up as a child. So this is important because she never got to be who she wanted to be. And so she became a mother, had 4 kids, and I was the second born, and I was a big disappointment. They wanted a boy. They had already had a girl, my sister, and they thought for sure. I weighed 10 and a half pounds. That's a big, big baby. And my dad was sure I was a boy. And when he found out I was a girl, it was just like I already disappointed him straight off the bat, and those impressions and those emotions that you pick up from your parents, they stay with you. Okay, even as a baby, you're still picking that up. So I became a people pleaser. I was going to figure out a way to get my father's love, his attention, do whatever it took to be his shining star. Now, I had 2 brothers come after me, so he set us up to compete with one another for his attention and his love and his approval. And of course, as children, we all want our parents' approval. Every single one of us, we want their love and approval. And we're looking to them to guide us in that right direction. So my dad, when I was 11th grade, 17, said, Nicole, you need to go to the United States Air Force Academy. It's a military academy that had just started admitting women. Before it was all men. And he had gone there. So he wanted one of his children to follow in his footsteps so he could be proud. So I thought, yes, I'm going to be the child that's going to be the star in my father's eye. I'm going to follow in his footsteps and it's all going to be great. He's going to finally love me. Well, guess what? I did get accepted and I went there. And you guys, I have to tell you, the first day of boot camp, when I was being yelled at and I was being just abused, I went, oh my God, did I make a mistake? I am in the wrong place. And my soul knew it. I was like, what did I sign up for? I don't want to learn to kill people. I mean, seriously, I just really was clueless on what I was actually going to have to do and what it really meant to serve in our military. But we were also told that we couldn't fail in things. And when you signed up for something, you had to follow through on that commitment. No matter how much you didn't want to do it, you still had to complete it. And I think a lot of people get raised with that belief system that you're a failure if you quit something, or it doesn't suit you. So you say, I'm not doing it anymore. For my generation and previous generations, that just wasn't an option. The shame that would come on you, the humiliation, that feeling that you're a failure, you're less than, you're not good enough. I couldn't live with that, with my father knowing that if I just quit. So I endured it. And I don't know how I made it through all the different military exercises and training and combat exercises, survival training in the mountains. I pushed myself. I did it. Now you have to understand, Marika, I am 5'11" and maybe 140 pounds. I'm very thin. I took ballet growing up. I never was a varsity athlete and wanted to, run around with guns and do stuff. So I was completely out of the box there. And so when we started my second year there, I was getting more and more pressure and stressed because the expectations got higher and higher and higher with the academic load, with the military load. And I was just almost suffocating from fear and terror that I was going to fail out or that I was just, something was going to happen and I was just going to be kicked out of the academy.
Mm.
And so the beginning of the second year, we were having a big squadron event. And when it was over, I got a ride home with a guy who was older than me. When I say ride home, I mean back to the Air Force Academy,
Mm.
which is in the state of Colorado. He had a Corvette Convertible. We were the last to leave this event. There was about 100 of us there. And I said, hey, do you mind if I get a ride back with you to the academy? And he's like, no, come on. And I want to tell your audience, we never made it back to the academy. If you can see this, um, that is a picture. If you're familiar with American cars, that is a Corvette Convertible, 1965. The top was down. That is the passenger side, which was the side I was in of the car. And I have to tell you, people look at it and go, how did you live? And I said,
Yeah.
well, I didn't
Oh
live.
my goodness.
I actually was pronounced dead at the scene. Okay. This was when this happened. Some people at a house nearby, it was out in the country, they heard it. They called 911, which is our emergency service. And it took about 10 to 13 minutes for the first responders to get to me. And at that point, the bystanders who checked me and the other driver out, he was like, she's dead. So they went in and got a blanket and actually covered me up, waiting on the first responders. So when they got there, the gentleman who I call an angel now, he was one of the EMT personnel that worked on me. He took the blanket off. He looked at me. He couldn't get any vitals, couldn't get a pulse, couldn't get blood pressure, nothing. And they're like, well, she's dead. She's been dead the last 10 to 15 minutes before you got here. And he was like, nobody tells me this. I have to figure this out myself. I'm going to try a couple other things. So he did something called a sternal knuckle press, which if you're in the healthcare setting, you know that that's designed to elicit pain in the body. So when he did that, Marika, this is amazing. My right pupil dilated. And you think
Mm.
about that. That's the only part. He couldn't get a pulse. He couldn't get a blood pressure, nothing. This is the last thing you do to try to elicit some kind of sign of life in a person. Have you ever heard that phrase, your eye is the window to your soul?
Yeah. Yeah.
At that moment, when he was doing the sternal knuckle press, my soul, which had gone to the other side, flew back in through my eye. And all of a sudden, he got a heartbeat and a blood pressure reading of 60 over zero. Now, that's still in and out of life and death because it needed to be about 120 over 80, but he at least knew I was alive. I had massive injuries. I'd amputated my left foot. Severed my right wrist. My pelvis was broken on both sides. I had a fourth degree laceration up in my genital area, huge hole cut out there. I had a massive road burn from sliding on the gravel. I mean, I was in bad shape. So they did CPR in the ambulance all the way to the closest hospital. And they basically just tried to stabilize me that night. That was the beginning of a 4-month stay in the hospital for me to start recovering from just the physical injuries. I was on a roller coaster. I was 7 weeks in the intensive care. And Marika, every time I started to get better, something else terrible would happen. I got sepsis, which is a really serious infection, blood infection. I had gangrene get into the leg or where all the cuts were. Because when something like this happens, that point of impact, you lose control of your bowels. You got feces, and I mean it's a mess. Okay, you got a lot of bacteria. So I spent the next 4 months um, trying to just survive. I went through 6 major operations. In one of those operations, I actually had a code blue, which means your heart stops. They called time of death. My parents were in the chapel praying for me, but my heart just gave out. And the surgical nurse went and told my parents, you need to start preparing Nicole's funeral. She didn't make it through surgery. It was an emergency surgery. And
So
then
that
all
was a second near death
a second
experience.
near death, yes. And
Okay.
what I was doing is I was in so much pain and suffering. I wanted to go back to the white light that I had felt and seen and been with when the crash happened. And so I'm going to back up now because the hospitalization, all that you can read in the book. There's lots of details about that. But the only thing that I remembered when I woke up in the ICU a day later, I was unconscious for a whole day, were these brilliant rays of white light that were flooding my body. I felt cocooned in them. I felt so safe. And I think to me, this is what love feels like. It is just a brilliant experience. There's no fear, there's no negativity, there's no pain, there's no suffering. It is just bliss. I actually felt like I was an astronaut floating out in outer space, you know?
Yeah.
It was so cool, but that was the only thing I remembered. The rest of it was blank. I had no memory except being in the car with the guy and then waking up in the hospital. I had the white light was all I knew. And I asked my surgeon, I said, could this have been the operating room lights? Did I wake up during surgery and all of a sudden see these white lights? She goes, absolutely not, Nicole. There's no way you woke up. She said, I will tell you, it was something mystical. It was something magical. She said, I have been a surgeon for 30 something years, and I now believe in near death experiences because I have had you as my patient. Because we lost you 3 times and you came back each time, and it wasn't because of our medical skill set.
Okay.
Something far greater than you brought you back. So you have a reason and a purpose to be here.
Yeah. So did this white light come to you the second time when you had the near death
Yeah, I was looking for it. I was trying to get back to it. And an angel came and said, no, you got to get back in that body. And I was like, I don't want to. It's painful. Not only
I'm
was it
getting
painful,
goosebumps.
not only was it painful physically because I had so many physical injuries, but it was painful mentally because my parents had come out when they found out about the crash. And my dad actually said, that I disappointed him and I
Oh,
disappointed God. So even though I was a passenger in the vehicle, They found out that the other guy was drunk and was over the limit with alcohol. So the alcohol is what caused the crash. And he said basically that I was stupid for not knowing that that guy was drunk and getting in the car with someone who was drunk.
So it was your fault.
And it was my fault. That's exactly
Mm.
right. That has been the hardest part over the last 42 years, Marika. He's never apologized. He's never said, I was wrong about that. He still to this day believes that was true. And I couldn't believe it. I had no way back to the academy. That was the last car there. I couldn't walk
Mm.
back. This was in the 80s. We didn't have cell phones. So there was no other way for me to get home. And I have suffered with that disappointment and thinking, oh my God, I've failed my dad anyway. And and God and my mother went along with that. She actually supported my father with that belief system. And I didn't want to be there and have to live and go back to Mississippi and go back to the churches that I was raised in. But I was basically in a state of infancy. I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat, I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I had 10 different IVs going on. So I had to learn to walk again. I had to retrain myself, but I had to do it back home in the environment that I grew up in. And so it was really hard for me to do that. And when I discharged from the hospital, the doctor said, Miss Kerr, Nicole needs to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist. She has trauma, major trauma, and she needs mental health help. And my mother looked at this doctor and said, Jesus is our psychiatrist, and she's going to be just fine. Well, let me tell you, Marika, I was not fine because untreated trauma, your body will cope with it in an unhealthy way until you treat it, until you get to the source of that wound. And for me, it manifested in an eating disorder. And at that point, it was called compulsive overeating. Today, it's called binge eating disorder. And I lived with that disorder for 20 years until my memory came back of the crash. And I now understood what I was using that food to push down all emotion. I hated myself because of what my dad said to me. And I could never make it right. So I went into nutrition. I'm a dietitian to try to fix myself. I thought if I can understand why just can't stop binging on food, maybe I can fix myself. I didn't understand it was a mental disease, and how it stems from low self-esteem and all these different factors that played into it from my childhood and what were the messages that I were given that there was conditional love in our family. I wasn't worthy. I'm a terrible person. Belief systems like that it's just like, oh my God, how could I believe this? But unconsciously, that's the way I was programmed. If you don't follow the rules, you're not a good person. And I couldn't square it with God either. No matter how much I tried, no matter how hard I prayed, the eating disorder never went away. I didn't get better with it. In fact, I got worse.
Mm.
So I just didn't, in fact, I started disbelieving in the religion when I was in boot camp because it was so difficult for me. And I kept praying, like, let me have an injury so I can get out of this, that I don't have to go to the obstacle course, and God never seemed to hear me, it just got harder and harder. So I knew then that this God, that if I prayed to and asked, that asking it would be given, that wasn't the truth. That was not happening to me. So I kind of at that point started to not believe in God. But I will tell you, when I died, I was in fear of death. I thought I would be eternally separated from my family because I was a bad person. And that's what was taught is that if you don't have your sins forgiven, you will be eternally separated. Your parents will be up there in heaven and you'll be down in a place called hell, uh,
Which is
in
hot.
which is hot. There's fire. And as a child, if you think about it, children are literal. I
Mm.
really thought that I was just on fire all the time down there. And I couldn't
Mm.
understand how I could take a shower and the shower wouldn't eliminate the fire, or did we eat barbecue food all the time down there? You don't it doesn't make sense. But it's really scary. It is really scary, the image of Satan, the image of hell. And I knew when I died that I probably wasn't going to go to heaven.
Mm.
So that fear ultimately became my message to people when I went to the other side, which was to tell people not to fear death. That is all man-made stuff. That is completely not true and is not what God is about. God, source, whatever you want to call it, creator, divine intelligence, whatever name you give it, what I knew on the other side, it was pure, unconditional, no strings attached love. And I'm telling you, that's hard to get here on this planet Earth from other human beings. I think that's why a lot of people have pets because they have unconditional love from their pets. Those dogs or cats or furry feathers or furry animals or feathered friends, they love you no matter what you do. All you have to do is feed them treats and make sure that they're, warm and safe and protected. And they love seeing you. And I will tell you, your pets do go to heaven. All your animals do go to heaven. Will be there on the other side, jumping up at joy, coming at you, running at you, whatever it is, they are there. They have a soul, they have a spirit. So don't let any organization or theology tell you they don't have souls and they won't be there on the other side because that's not true. That's not my experience at all. They are up there and they are waiting for your return.
Actually, this is many people's concern that are the pets gonna be there? Many people have been asking this from me also.
Yes, definitely. 100%. There's
Yeah,
no question about it. They have a soul. They make us happy. In fact, your pets come from what we know as the angelic realm. They come here to help expand our capacity for love.
yeah, that makes
So
sense.
there's,
Yeah,
yeah, so there's no way they're not going to be with you on the other side. They're actually
yeah,
more involved than we are.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know I've thrown a lot at you, but I will tell you my memory of the crash came back 19 years after the crash. So
Yeah,
here I am. The crash happens at age 19. I go about my life with the only memory of the white lights. And then at 19, I'm working in a government position as a healthcare person. And I go to get a coffee one day and get my car to drive to work. And I all of a sudden, my memory started unfolding like a movie.
yeah,
I was scared to death. I didn't know what was happening to me. I went, instead of to work, I went to see my body worker, chiropractor, and I sat in his office waiting for an opening all day. And he told me, Nicole, these are repressed memories. Now, I don't know if that's a term that's familiar to you or your audience.
yeah. I think that it is familiar, but I just can't figure out the name for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
so
is familiar. Yeah,
yeah, so what your body does when when you have a trauma, a severe trauma, uh, it will you disassociate from it. Okay, you don't remember it. It's too painful to remember.
yeah,
It's still in there in your hippocampus. It's stored there, but you just can't. You would probably wind up in the psych unit if you actually didn't have the capacity or the resources or the safety to process it. You need to have those pieces in place to process trauma. You cannot do it by yourself. It's just too hard. You need safety. You need people there that know how to deal with trauma and have those resources available. So at that point in my life, I had that available to me. So the memory unfolded in 2 days completely from when it took me through the car crash, I realized that the guy who was driving made a sexual pass at me. And at that point, I'd never had sex. I'd never been on a date. My dad did not believe in dating. And his rules at the academy were no dating, no drinking, and no smoking. Now that's why people go to college, right? That's why you go on to higher education to have these experiences, right? Well, he's telling me not to do any of that. And this is my second year there. And I'm at a school with 4,000 guys. Okay, come on. But those are his rules. And so that was another reason when he found out that alcohol was involved and another guy was involved, that, whoa, I disobeyed his rules. But he made a sexual pass at me and I said no. And he took the steering wheel of the Corvette and it spun out of control. And the car flipped over and wound up, hit a huge boulder and wound up in a ditch face down. We were ejected out of the car. And that whole scene started to play out. I could see each scene come together. And then before I hit the ground, Marika, a being, I call him Casper the Friendly Ghost because it had a form like that was translucent. Okay, you could see through it, but it had a form and it was an angelic being. And it came and it took my soul flew out of my body before I hit the grass, the ground. I knew when I was flying through the windshield of the car, when I got in the air, I knew I was going to die. I could look down on the ground and I knew I was going to hit that ground and die. At that moment, my soul, okay, that unconscious part of you, that soul part,
Yeah.
it left me and went to the other side with this angel. And then boom, my body hits the ground, but it's nothing there. It's just, it's just my
So you
body.
you didn't feel any pain or anything.
No, and
Well,
that's
that's
what I
before that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to tell people if you know somebody that has been in a traumatic accident where they died,
Mm.
they're 99.9% of the time, their soul leaves their body ahead of the impact. They never suffer and they never feel the pain.
Yeah.
So you can rest assured that they didn't have that level of pain that went with them to the other side. It just doesn't exist. And I still to this day have never remembered the point of impact. Never. Now, I remember waking up in the hospital and being tied to all these tubes, and the pain came there because I was back in my body, right? The soul had come back in the body. So that's another thing I want people to understand is that people that die traumatically, almost always their soul leaves their spirit ahead of the final death point. So on the other side, I see these angels along with my angel, and two of these angels are having a conversation. Now, they're not speaking Finnish or English or German.
Telepathically.
It's telepathic
Yeah.
and it's vibration. Okay. That's how you interpret things over there. And they were saying, these angels, that we humans here on earth need to ask for the angelic realm's help. We need to ask our, our spirit guides, our angels, any number of ancestors or whatever on the other side. We need to ask them for help because we have something called free will. We get to make decisions. We have the choice to do something or not do something. So they're not going to interfere with that free choice unless we ask them to. So it's really important when you're born, you get one to two, maybe even more, what we call guardian angels, birth angels. And they stay with you your entire life until you pass over. And they're here to help you learn the lessons that you signed up to learn in this lifetime. Okay, that's the spirit guides as well. They're all these spiritual entities on the other side that want to help us, but we have to ask for their help. So that's one thing that I want to really, a message to your audience is start asking for help.
Yeah.
And you can start really small, like you want some evidence. Angels, please help me find a parking space. I cannot find a parking space in this lot. Boom. Every time I've asked for it, it has happened. And people think I'm crazy bothering the angels about a parking spot.
Actually,
They,
me too. I'm
yeah,
getting a parking space anytime I ask.
yeah.
Yeah.
They don't think of it as small or large or anything. They're just happy we're communicating and they want to produce the evidence so that we know that they are there and they are listening. Now, you have to remember, I believe in prayer. Prayer is focused energy. but you have to be careful the language you're using when you pray and not like, well, I'm going to pray for $1 million and all this stuff that is like, wait a minute here, we're getting out of control. You want to pray. The way I pray is for the highest and greatest good for another person.
Yeah.
Because if someone is in the hospital and they had a terrible accident or they're near death, from some terminal illness or whatever it is, for me to pray that they live longer, that may not be in their highest and greatest good. They may be ready to leave and they need you to give them permission to let go so they can go. They're ready. They don't want to continue living in that physical body. It's too painful. So I think, we have to always remember what is for the highest and greatest good. The universe works for us, not against us. But if you live in fear, you're going to think it's working against you.
Yeah.
So that was one message I got over there about the angels. And then the angel that was with me said, Nicole, you're going to have to go back. I was like, I'm not going back. I don't want to get in that body. I could see my body mangled in a ditch. And I'm like, no way am I getting back in that body. He goes, you have to. This is part of your life plan. And boom, I woke up and there I was in the ICU. And what he told me is my message to people was not to fear death. If your beliefs about God shape your relationship to death. So I believe that God not only was loving, but if you didn't follow the rules and were a bad person, a sinner, that you're going to die and something bad's going to happen to you. So I fear death. And many people do if they have that belief system, that they are not good enough, that they screwed up, and had premarital sex when they weren't supposed to, so they'll never be forgiven, or, all of these different ideas and beliefs that we have. And so it causes you to fear death because you don't really know what happens when you die, except your physical body dies. And I will tell you that you do not die. Your soul never dies. Your soul is eternal. In fact, your soul has been around many times. This is not the first incarnation of your soul. Your soul is here to learn these lessons and to evolve. And so with that message, was like, when that came to me 19 years later, I was like, that's a pretty big message because in America, at least, we're a culture of death denial. We don't think it's going to happen to us. We think we're immortal. I'm no way that's going to happen to me. It'll happen to somebody else, but not me.
Yeah.
And so you don't think about it. You don't want to feel it. You don't want to dwell with it. We put our old folks into these retirement and nursing homes so that we don't have to deal with them. We don't have to smell old and death, all of that kind of stuff. We just don't want to be bothered with it until it happens to us or someone we love. Then all of a sudden, especially if it's a child that dies or something, you start questioning God. You start going, why did this happen to me? And that I questioned that too. I was like, I'm a good girl. I did everything I was told to do. I didn't drink alcohol except on that day of the crash. I had 2 beers, the most I had had in my life. And boy, did I feel like I went to have some fun and did I get slammed, And so it is really, what do I want to say? It's really important that you look at what your beliefs are regarding your relationship with God, with the universe, or whatever you want to call it, and make sure that's coming from your belief system. How do you believe? How do you see God? How do you feel God? How do you know God? How do you have this relationship? I say God is the bigger picture here, and I can tell you right now, God is not a person. It's not a man, and it's not with a white beard sitting up there judging us. In fact, here's another lesson. You are not judged on the other side.
No.
That's a big one for people that grew up in Christianity, because you're told you're going to be judged when you go to heaven. There's no judgment there. And you know why that is? Because in heaven, there's no bad. on earth, we create these terms bad and good, right? In order to be able to evaluate ourselves and others. But when we go to the other side, back to our home, it's all good. There's no bad there. There's no pain there. There's no negativity. So you don't have that contrast. It is all good. So there's nothing to judge. In fact, I realized as I was over on the other side that I never made a mistake.
Yeah.
It wasn't about making mistakes. It wasn't a mistake that I did getting in the car with this guy. My dad never forgave me, but it wasn't at all about God or spirituality or anything like that. It never was seen as that, which was so freeing to me. And, you know, suffering can lead us to awakening, and we're all here on a journey to heal ourselves and then potentially heal others. And I have to tell you, I don't know of anybody on this planet that's not going to go through some kind of pain or suffering in order to awaken themselves and
Mhm.
start questioning what they've been told, generational belief systems. Just because my parents and my grandparents and my great grandparents believed it doesn't make it the truth.
I haven't met many people that would have been having a life that nothing happens and everything is good and you're dancing on the roses and you would be awake.
Right.
That's not
You,
happening, right? Like that.
you don't need to come to earth if you don't need to learn a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we all struggle. And I think that's why we're put in other people's lives to help us through those struggles and to learn through those struggles. But fear is something that we really have to start working with and l- removing the layers of fear that keep us from living. And if you fear death, you're really not going to truly live life. And life is here to be lived fully.
Yeah. Have the experiences and have the lessons and
Absolutely. As painful as some of them are,
Mm,
they're freeing on some level because
mm.
now I don't have to worry about being judged on the other side. Because the worst thing I think you can do is judge yourself. You
Yeah.
know, you shame yourself, you should yourself, those are all negative impacts on you, which keep you from loving you. And it has to start with yourself first. You have to learn to love who you are, accept who you are, that you really are a spark of God. God is within you. We're
Yeah.
all these drops of God in this big ocean. It's one consciousness. If you want to take anything away from this presentation I'm giving you, the other side is about love and this consciousness. We're all one.
Yeah.
And so
But
that's
still
why,
you are an individual there anyway.
exactly, no
But
one's going to be like you.
somehow, yeah, but somehow you are connected to everything.
Yes.
That's what many people say that having
Yes.
the near death experience.
Every single one of us is connected to one another. What we say, think, and do matters, and when you won't be judged, but you will have a life review on the other side. You will be
Did
like
you
in
have one?
that's the only thing I did not have. And I think the reason I did not have the life review is because I was 19 when this happened, and I had lived a life where I basically did everything I was
Yeah,
told.
yeah,
So I didn't rebel, I didn't act out, I didn't do anything, I didn't even date. Okay, so there was nothing really for me to be seen that I was like hurting other people about.
yeah,
And so, but I know that it does happen, and I've met enough people to know that it happens. And basically, a life review is where everything that you have thought, said, and done on planet Earth, you get to experience it from the point of view of the other person, of
yes,
the
yeah,
universe, you know? And for people that are doing really evil and bad things, they're going to have a very hellacious life review.
mm,
Okay. So there is spiritual justice, even if there's not always earthly justice.
mm,
You have to be and you will be accountable for what you say, think, and do to other people, to all sentient beings, meaning animals, etc., and to Mother Earth.
yeah. Yeah. There is so many experiences I have heard, and yours is really interesting. Like you, but when I read your book, there you have been going through so much pain and suffering with the things that happened to your body. Uh, like, is it still bothering you, or did you heal all the things?
No, I still have residual health problems and actually have my whole entire adult life. This happened at 19, and I've had limitations on my body as a result of that. And as I've gotten older, other illnesses or challenges or diagnoses have presented themselves based on the medications I was given years ago, all this kind of stuff. So, no, I deal with migraines a lot too, which are, if anybody has them, they're very, very painful.
Yeah,
And that's from my head injury, So I try to just, the days that I'm not in pain, try to have gratitude, but it's not easy. You have to balance being human and spiritual.
mm,
You can't just say, "Oh, I'm not in you can't lie to yourself. You have to be in integrity. If someone says how you're doing, I'm not going to go fine or okay. If I'm really not, I'm going to be honest and say, I'm struggling today. I'm trying to do
yeah,
better. But at this moment, right now, I got to go lay down. I got to take some medication, whatever it is. I don't try to Pollyanna it, make it all nice and that I'm just, this
yeah,
spiritual person who's evolved beyond that because we're not. We're human and we have to balance that with our spirituality. And if anyone tells you that they have all the answers, run, 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 run. No one has all the answers, okay? And that's how you evolve. You take pieces of things that you hear and you put them in your collective and go, what resonates in my body? How do I align with my body, my mind, my soul? How does that all align with me? Does that feel congruent, or is it incongruent? And if it's incongruent, throw it away, So it is everyone's own journey. No one can tell you the absolutes, but I do know that love really, we go back to where we came from, that we do live on in a soul level.
yeah,
So just that is an absolute.
yeah,
But it is, I think a lot of people, like I didn't want to come back because on the other side, it was so magical and beautiful. The colors on the other side, um, there, there are more colors that are in we women, we like to paint our nails, right? And there's thousands of nail colors, right, out there to choose from.
yeah,
There are more colors than all the nail colors or the Crayola or the paint chips. Um, and it's just so vivid. The music, take like your top 7 songs that you love and like blend them all together. And that's what you hear. On Earth, we can only see about 40 degrees around us, with our eyes. On the other side, your eyes are able to see 360 into the future and into the past all at the same time.
that's oh,
It's wild. It is,
yeah,
yeah, it's really wild. But, you're not judged over there, for anything that you've done on this earth. It was all here as a lesson and a learning experience. But now that you know you're going to have a life review, start taking the word should out of your vocabulary and quit shaming yourself. Because
Mm,
when you tell somebody, Marika, you should have not eaten that piece of pie, how does that make you feel? Terrible. You know?
yeah,
Yeah. So take that word out. If you're telling other people they should do this or shouldn't, get that out of your vocabulary. I don't know what the translation is in Finnish, but get that word out because it's a very low vibrational word.
yeah,
It's shaming. Okay. So that's one thing you can do. And then to start journaling with your soul to try to start understanding the relationship you have with your soul. So, a good question to ask if you journal is, what does my soul want to tell me today? And just see what comes up. And if nothing
Yeah.
comes up, try it again tomorrow, the next day. Don't just stop if you don't get anything. It's like a relationship with your soul or the angels. It has to be continuous. It's not a one-off, Oh, I tried, they didn't respond, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting messages every day and, signs and everything. All
Yep.
of the license plates are telling me everything and
Yep. The numbers.
numbers and someone talking about something that I was just thinking, or the radio, there comes a song that
Exactly.
reminds me about something.
The
But I wanted to,
synchronicities, the synchronicities start multiplying when you start raising your vibrational level. You start
yeah,
noticing it all and you're just going, wow, this is truly amazing.
yeah, it's beautiful to get the messages all the time. I wanted to ask you what we were just talking about, because in my belief system, in the other side, before we come here, we are agreeing that we are going to have some kind of things happening to us. Do you think it could have been that your kind of experience now in this reincarnation could be like, for example, this that you have so much of pain in your body? Could it be? And this, do you think it was planned, this near-death experience?
Yes, I believe that I was on the wrong course in my life, the wrong direction. My soul was going in the direction my father wanted it to, not me.
Yeah.
So the agreement that I came in with had to be altered so that I could get back on my path. So I believe when that happened, it was like the message was very clear. I can now specifically tell you, I heard not to be afraid of death. So once I got that, it was like, well, that goes against the religion that I was brought up with. So I've got to learn to let go of that and let go of people that are continuing to tell me that I'm wrong, something is wrong with me, I didn't remember things correctly, that I'm a hypocrite, I'm a sinner, I'm all these things. I have to block myself from all of that because I know my truth. And I believe, Marika, people like yourself and myself that have out of body experiences or near death experiences, and near death especially, is that you had that experience and you needed to come back. You are an old soul that signed up and said you can take the pain and you can take the suffering because you are an old soul that has been around a while to get this message out to people that they don't need to be afraid of death. There is no hell. There is no judgment. All these things they're fearing are man-made. They're not of God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely correct. I've also had a very, how do I put it? The fear of God has been like when I was little, it was very big. For example, when we were riding the whole family in the car, and my mom said that like if you throw the trash from the window, God is gonna put a big rock on your head, like fall a big rock on your head. And my dad was smoking in the car, and every time he was putting the ciggy out of the car, I was like, oh, it's gonna come a rock on top of me.
Yeah.
So
And look what that did to your poor little nervous system.
yeah,
You get into the state where you're in your fight, flight, freeze, the sympathetic. You're
yeah,
staying in that situation and you can't ever let go and download
yeah,
and get to this part of your brain which says, relax, you're
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And so that's terrible that a rock,
yeah,
that somehow you're going to be harmed is what that was, and harmed in a bad way.
yeah.
A head injury is horrible, you know?
Yeah, that wasn't the only thing,
Yeah.
but the
No, that it is.
yeah,
It's people make up all these things to scare us. And every denomination has a different way of scaring you,
yeah,
and but it all instills fear and it's negative
mm,
and
and
it's limiting. instead of expanding.
Yes, and our parents have huge impact to us.
Absolutely.
Uh,
There are role models.
yeah,
So
but
oh,
also our parents are grown probably the same way. So like I don't blame my parents about that anymore now
yeah.
that I've been gone through all of that because they've had the same kind of childhood.
Yeah, I just don't talk to mine anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are what I would call religious addicts. The only subject they can talk about, they're like missionaries. The only subject they can talk about is the Bible, their version of God and Jesus. And because of that, we can't have a relationship. And it's been very sad for me that that's what they've chosen. Uh, but I've just had to decide that I don't want to call them and listen to, I'm being judged and, I'm going to go to hell for what I'm saying and doing. And how could I do something like this? How could I go against the way I was brought up? Why aren't I following the commandment that says, honor your mother and the father? I'm like, oh my God, I don't need to hear all this judgment.
Yeah.
It's not true. And so I had to cut it off because they won't change. And some people won't. And you have to protect yourself ultimately. You have to put the boundaries up if someone continues to be toxic towards you. Your energy system, your energy body, no, it does not need that. And you become very sympathetic and empathetic when you have an experience like I do. You go to the other side, you're more sensitive to toxins, to sound, to the environment, to negativity. You can't handle it. You have got to, you change your lifestyle, you change who you are, you transform. And you have to put barriers up, you have to put protection up, and you have to sever relationships, even if they're with your family members, if they cause you um, distress, if they cause you hurt and pain.
Yeah.
And it's like throwing barbs at somebody. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Whew.
Oh.
Okay, that just came from spirit.
There comes the
Wow.
sun.
Yes, protect yourself, everybody,
Yeah.
from these barbs. Okay, I got the message. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously, that was a very stable light up there. Okay. Nothing happened in the room, but that's how they can shift energy on the other side. That's how they get your attention. They shift energy, they shift lights going on and off. They can, that's how they get in touch with you. Songs on the radio, anything electrical they can
Yeah.
alter. So yeah, I've
Yeah,
learned to go, okay, that was a message. That
I'm
just
getting that every day.
yeah, that didn't just coincidentally happen, The whole
Yeah.
thing fell down in front of the screen so you guys could see it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep your light strong. We all
Mm,
have a light within us, and anything that diminishes our light, we got to get rid of it. I'm sorry, no matter what you're taught or what
yeah.
your belief systems are, you've got to get rid of them.
Yeah. I have been a
Not
people
easy
people
work. Yeah.
yeah. I have been a people pleaser too. I
Yeah.
grew I grew up to be nice to everyone and be the one who's solving the problems and so it has kind of like similarities to your childhood and but I'm still talking to my parents like I have been forgiving many things that mostly one of my parents did.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if you can,
it's
I forgive them. I'm just not
yeah,
going to put myself in the firing line knowing that
yeah,
that is how they're going to treat me. And that's the
yeah,
only thing they can talk about. They don't ask me how I'm doing, how my husband, they don't ask any questions. It's just, have you been to church?
yeah,
It's all religious questions. And I'm not going to put myself in that. I've answered them over and over, and I'm not doing it anymore. But we all have to work through our various journeys with our loved ones. And maybe that was my journey. I had to come in with a lesson in how to put up barriers, even if they're family members and
yeah,
you're taught to love them under all conditions. It's like, no, you don't have to do that to yourself if it's making you sick. You
yeah,
can, you need to. put the boundary up for yourself. So it's a different journey for every single person, and the bottom line is I want to be at peace with myself.
Yes.
That's what I want to be. And so I've done what I needed to do and reconcile that to know I can be at peace with myself, and that the message that I have come back with flies in the face of their belief systems and they're not able to accept it. And that's okay. It's not my job to change them. The
Yeah.
people that on your podcast or at least are in the show, you're willing to listen to something different and maybe think, oh, maybe I need to think about that, or maybe I need to look at this. We are all evolving at different speeds. But now in the world is the time for change and transformation. We're seeing it globally. People need to wake
Definitely.
up.
Yes. Yes. This is something that I'm just wondering, like, why we haven't been waking up before. All of
Yeah, I'm
those
with you on
horrible
that.
things that are happening. But you know what is the thing in Finland? They don't show the things in the news here. They're just showing politics. There's a lot of racism here and stuff like that. They're talking about that. But for example, now the Epstein thing, they're not talking about it in the news at all. People are talking in the social media, which is
Right.
good, but
Well, and the same
yeah.
here because the people in the Epstein files are very wealthy, rich, influential, uh,
Mm,
high positioned people who don't want their
yeah,
names out. So the fact they're going to keep coming out, more and more is going to keep coming out because what they did is beyond horrendous. I mean, what the glimpses that we're seeing, the way they treated other human beings is unconscionable. It's
mm,
absolutely unconscionable. And the fact that they've
yeah,
been allowed to get away with it for as long as they have says
yes,
something about our justice system, and that's what's going to crumble is no, you are going to be held responsible for it. And it is going to be out there amongst the social media because young people aren't getting their news from the news channels. They go to
no,
social media. This
yeah,
is, that's all fading away. Newspapers and stuff like that. Younger people, our age group, we've kind of gotten away from that. It's the
yeah,
older generations that are still hooked into that. But yeah, it's that is a huge test for humanity for this to come out on the right side of um, justice for these people that were so victimized and so,
yes,
you know, children,
yeah,
nonetheless.
the most innocent
Yes.
things
Yeah.
in this
And totally
crime.
destroyed their lives.
Yeah,
Hundreds, they have destroyed hundreds of people's lives.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So yeah, it's same here, but it is going to, people are going to keep, at least on social media, keep putting it out there, and the pressure will continue to build.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. What would you say to the people? Like, what's the best thing to do? Like, to do your part in this awakening things.
I will have to say, so many of us are on unconscious loops of programming. The only way to become aware of something is to have it pointed out to you or an experience happen to you that you go, wow, I totally misunderstood that. I was not aware that was even going on. And once you become aware, you can change your behavior. So it's about becoming aware of what is making me feel joyous and happy and good and high vibe and is a positive contribution to my life, and what is causing me fear and negativity and stress that is lowering my vibration. And you can start there with start going, oh, I need to get rid of some of these things that are causing me negativity and distress and all of that. You have to start raising that vibration of yours, and you will attract other people that are of a high vibration too, that will be able to support you and say, I completely understand. I am willing to help you with this, you know? So the awareness is the key, but to learn to love yourself, it really has to start with your, and I don't mean, go get manicures and pedicures and massages. Those are nice things. But what it truly means to love yourself, no matter what you say, think, and do, can you still love yourself for being you? If you're overweight, if you're underweight, if you're whatever your situation is, can you say, I'm going to quit shaming myself? I'm going to take out that word should, and I'm just going to love myself for being, accept myself right as I am right now, and trust this is exactly where I need to be for today.
Yeah. And this is also something that you are doing nowadays. We were talking before that. Tell me a little bit about
So
what you are doing.
I do a program called a neuro emotional technique, NET. It's similar to something called the body code, where you use the modalities of acupressure, um, kinesiology, muscle testing, and psychology. It's non-invasive, but you map a person's body with whatever trigger is going on with them. So for instance, I was a dietitian and I worked with people with their diets. And when they got stressed, I had a lot of people that would, even though they were diabetic or had other issues, when they got stressed or triggered, they would go back and eat a whole pint of Ben and Jerry's. Okay. Or they'd eat half a pizza. They needed that comfort. They needed that dopamine release. And that's how they got it. And for a little while, they numbed out to whatever the stress was, the trigger was. But you didn't really resolve it. And it can come back again because what it is it's triggering you with an emotion that happened to you earlier in your life that you never resolved. So you still don't want to go back and feel that as 11-year-old or 12-year-old, whatever the issue is. Maybe it's the belief system that you don't feel worthy, and that came in, wow, when you were like 6 or 7 years old, you weren't worthy because you were told you were a sinner and you didn't pray right. You weren't, all that, however you got the message that somehow you weren't worthy of love, you weren't worthy of your parents' attention. All of these messages, they get encoded in us and we stay on a loop with them unless we can understand where that actually started. And sometimes it goes back generationally, just because your parents felt unworthy and their grandparents, and they all tried not to feel it and just covered up and just keep on with life and get through it. They didn't want to feel any emotions. So it helps identify what the emotion is. And then you connect up to the event and you're able to clear it out of your body and it does not come back. And that's what I have done. That's my practice here, is helping people clear those triggers that they know that it's causing them distress, but they don't know what it is. So I am like a guide for your body and mapping it to understand, oh, it's in the liver. Well, that's going to be anger. That's going to be resentment and gall. Let's find out by muscle testing what age that first happened when you felt unworthy. So it's amazing how it works, and it does work. And you can go to net.org for more information on that. I know it's worldwide. The services are, so finding a practitioner in your area that would maybe that is qualified, you have to go through courses to be able to do it. But it was a game changer for me, so much so that I don't do nutrition counseling anymore. I just do NET because I want to help people understand why they were going to the food in the first place.
NET,
Neuro emotional technique.
neuro emotional technique.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a mind body stress relief technique.
Yeah, that's really well. Probably we have it in Finland, but I'm not so familiar
Yeah,
with those things. I should get to know them.
it really does help you release the emotions. And so many of us are taught to only feel the good emotions.
Mm.
You're pushed down if you're, like I was told never to hurt my mother. Don't you hurt your mother, So I did everything to please her, because it would be terrible for me to be a bad girl and somehow do something that would hurt my mother. So, you grow up with these messages and you realize, well, that means I have to do everything she says her way, and you never individuate, right? You never get to be your own person and actually go, no, mom, this may hurt, but I've decided I'm going to this church instead of your church, or I'm going to go this way, instead of that way. And that keeps you from actually becoming the being that you were created to be.
Yeah, that makes me really think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Messages.
always the good girl. Like
Yep.
I've never been, well, maybe once in my life I have been angry.
But it's been more than that. You just didn't let yourself feel it and actually express it. So it's all
Yeah,
bottled up in there. Every single person has emotions that they didn't process at an event that was traumatic or triggering for them. It could be sexual abuse, it could be verbal abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be witnessing somebody that was going through that. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen where you shut your emotions down and then you get triggered with a movie or with seeing it in somebody else and you can't deal with it. So you're going to, eat a whole pint of ice cream.
yeah, that's what happens.
Or shop or numb yourself out with binging on Netflix or shopping or alcohol, anything that numbs you out so you don't have to feel it. Because
Yeah,
to feel something is to actually heal it.
yeah. Actually, the that makes me think because alcohol actually is a really big problem in Finland. So we might have really a lot of, and I know this because, well, Finnish people are really like, they're not really talking about their feelings, especially the older generation. I think now the younger generation learned how to really speak up for themselves and speak about the feelings and stuff like that. But especially the old generation, they are not really talking.
That's a coping mechanism to just, have the alcohol just put you in an
Yeah,
altered state of mind so you don't have to go there. It's too painful. And so
yeah.
you take yourself out of it. And it is a problem worldwide, actually. In
Yeah,
COVID, when everything was shut down, alcohol consumption in the US rose dramatically because people
yeah,
were isolated and they couldn't go see their loved ones in hospitals and things like that. They couldn't, get out and socialize. A lot of depression and a lot of anxiety arose during that period, and a lot of people tried to numb it out with alcohol and other, pharmaceutical drugs. To be honest with you, and a lot of people still haven't recovered from that depression and anxiety.
let me ask you something. What is the meaning of life?
Wow, that's a really deep question. Thank you for that question. To me, the meaning of life is to allow and to really, truly understand what it means to love yourself so that you're not in fear of whatever is going to happen to you. And that means you're free. You're free to take the risk to live your life in this moment. And when you do that, I believe you learn the lessons that you agreed to with your soul before you came in.
Okay, that's beautiful. Hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, and another question, how do you define a God?
Um, for me, that term has evolved since my memory came back. And I believe God, source, creator, divine intelligence, whatever you want to call whatever is greater than yourself, that, in my opinion, has no beginning and no end, but it is this divine intelligence that allows for the greater good. And it's a I feel that presence when I'm in nature the most. I feel the presence of God when I am bathed in nature, whether it's the beach or the forest or the woods or, connected to Mother Earth. I think the beauty of nature, the all the animals, that is when I feel connected to this force, this oneness, this collectiveness, and it's always working in our favor. But once again, it's about the free will, and we just have to ask the spiritual realm for help. But I don't believe you have to go into a building to connect with it. God is
Mm.
within you. We
Yeah,
are all have these eternal sparks of God within us. You have to get out of the personifying of God, in my opinion. He, whatever you were raised with, is not a person.
yeah. And God is closer than you can imagine.
It's within us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry it with us. And that's why when you say namaste, it's the God in me meets the God in you. And there is that in every one of us. Now, we are all born, in my opinion, perfect. It is the filters and the experiences that you become raised with and the belief systems that turn people to do bad things.
Yeah, yeah. No one is born bad.
That's right.
Yeah. It's hard to think. Many people are thinking like, how can you forgive someone that they did something bad? But if you actually think about it, no one is born bad. Something must have happened in between
Yeah.
your born and your life. Yeah. This has been very interesting and heartwarming conversation. So thank you really for that. And if people wanna see your things, I'm gonna put it to the uh,
Yeah. So here's my book.
You
Okay.
Are
You are death.
Deathless.
Yeah. It's a near-death experience that taught me how to fully live and not fear death. And it's my journey. It really is my healing journey. And you can see up here, you see these credentials,
Yeah.
BTDT. Do you know what that means,
I
Marika?
think I know that because I
Oh,
heard that in your book. It's been there, done that.
yes, you got
Yeah,
it. And people go, how can you put that on your book as a credential? And I go, experience is the best teacher. I had that experience. There's no school you go to get a degree in near-death experiences, right?
yeah,
So, I tell people if you've had an experience like this, um, it qualifies you to be an expert to put your story out there. And I want to encourage any one of your audience members, if you have had a near-death experience, please share that with the world.
yeah,
Please write it down. Please, it doesn't have to get published in a book or a magazine article. Just post it, on Substack or just get it
yeah,
out there because more and more people are recalling their experiences and sharing and the messages, for the most part, are all the same.
yeah.
We don't die. We're not going to be judged. Love is the most important thing. All of these things. We're not alone. Uh, and we all don't know each other. So how could we all come up with the same message?
Yeah, yeah, that. And it gives so much hope to people and especially to the people that are having the huge fear of death. It's like for example, I had a huge fear of death before, and that's probably one of the things why I'm doing these things because I have been searching so much about this subject because of the fear of death, and now I don't have the fear of death anymore. So
But
yeah,
it is a process. You're not gonna, the fear just doesn't go away for the most
yeah,
part overnight. It's a journey that we're all on to let go of these belief systems that were not even true to begin with, but we didn't
yes.
know any different. It's not our fault that we believe that. It's the way we were conditioned and raised. But it's up to us now to own that and become responsible and to start asking the questions, doing the research, and thinking, why do I have this memory that this deja vu thing? Well, that's because you've had maybe an interaction with that person in a past life. Those things always show up for a reason,
Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah. And good luck, everybody, on your journey. You're not alone by any stretch of the imagination. We're waking up in a collective consciousness. I think more and more people are starting to wake up and
Yes.
realize what is the truth instead of what we were force fed from generations past.
Yes. That's Thank you for those words.
You're more
And those people who are hesitating about um, telling their story, just come to the interview, uh, or or you can write a message and we can publish it that way. You don't have to
welcome.
come with your own face, or but many people has actually done that. But I really hope that people would start talking about these things. And one more thing, you have a website.
I do. www.nicole, Nicole, Kerr, Kerr, that's all one word,
Yes.
.com. And you can go on there and you can see I've done a lot of podcasts. I have book images. So all the pictures in my book of the crash and all the things, they're listed under the book. So you can see the images. I also voiced it for Audible. So it's available on Kindle, Audible, Kindle. You can listen
Oh,
to it
that's
and then
good.
have the pictures on the website. So, that was I had to go back into therapy when I did that because it's one thing to write something, you heal by writing, but then when you speak it, you're using another part of your voice and it goes, wow,
Yes.
that was actually me. And then when you
Mm.
hear yourself with your story, that's really like, wow, that's
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
it was different layers of healing to do that. So that's why I encourage people to write it down first, because it really helps solidify the healing part of this is me. This
Yes.
is my experience.
Yes.
Not crazy. I didn't make it up. It's not, you just have to know that this is your truth. And that's
Yeah.
believing in yourself and loving yourself and know that this is your truth.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that reminded me one more question.
Yeah,
Did you tell your parents about the what you saw, the bright light
I
and the
did.
angels? Yeah.
I told him the whole story. And my father, all he could say to that was, well, my dad had an experience where he saw the Last Supper. That's what he said to me. Didn't comment about my experience at all. He just said that his dad saw Jesus and all the people at the Last Supper in a vision. I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay.
Ah.
So it's never,
He didn't deny it, but he just came with his own things there.
right. And now they say, no, this couldn't have happened. You are going to be judged. So the things that I've said now in the
Okay.
book, they contradict vehemently that that's not the truth.
Yeah.
So when I initially told them, though, I think they were just thinking I was hallucinating. I must have been on drugs, or how could I make up such a
Mm.
story? Uh, and then the only thing he could say to even come close to that was, my grandfather had an image that he saw of that. And I'm just like, but that's the way they are. I mean, they
Yeah.
dismiss the story and they try to bring in something that they can relate to, but they can't,
Yeah.
and it's just, and I don't try to change them. That's another thing. Please don't, if you get into arguments with, it doesn't go anywhere. You're never going to win with people that are very religious and they have these beliefs and they don't want to change.
Mm.
I wait for people to say, Nicole, can you tell me about your NDE, or what was your experience about God? What did you feel about that? Or how do you make sense of that? I don't try to convince people anymore. I think
Yeah.
that's you're hitting your head against the wall to try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, this has been so good conversation, and really thank you. I'm so
You are more than
grateful for
welcome.
this,
Yes.
and um, maybe someday you will come back to my show.
Sure, we can talk about eating disorders if you want to.
Yeah, that would actually be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's I'll leave you with one tip. If you binge or crave on a lot of crunchy food like popcorn and chips, your little like that,
yeah.
that means you're not dealing with your anger. Those foods are about anger. You're crunching down, and there's something you're
Okay.
angry about, and you're putting the popcorn in, you're putting the chips in, and you're not dealing with the emotion of anger. So if you're binging or overeating crunchy foods, that's all about your anger and you not moving it. Something has triggered you and you're angry with someone, but you're not letting them know.
And what about chocolate?
Chocolate is about sex.
What? Oh my goodness.
Let's have another conversation about food at some time. Okay.
Yeah, definitely we would have to do
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Well, it has been a
Okay.
delight to know you and to meet you. And if you're ever on the East Coast and get to North Carolina, you're more than welcome to come. I will come pick you up at Charlotte or Riley or whatever and bring you to my hometown. I place another little guest suite you can stay at. But it's really been a soul connection here. And I
Yeah,
really feel that. And I always
me too.
try to bring in a connection with the host that's doing this, that we really have a good flow, and the same wavelength, of
Yeah.
vibration, because you just never know when you've never met somebody who you're going to
Yeah.
met.
Yeah, but actually when I have been looking many of your interviews and something just clicked in me that I have to put the message to this person. So maybe we've been meeting in the previous lives.
Yep, yep. And I'm glad, see, you're listening to your intuition. That's what a lot of us were told not to do that. Don't listen to
Yeah.
that gut. Do what I'm telling you to do. And when you listen to your gut, that is your inner compass, that knows your internal guidance system, that knows the truth for you. So
Yeah.
good on you.
I think we
Keep
could
up the good, keep,
go
keep
on
up
the
the
whole
good.
night.
Yeah, keep up the good work. And seriously, if you want to
Yeah.
talk about food and eating disorders, I'm happy to do that at some point.
Yes, definitely we will do that. And let's
Okay.
ask the audience what do they want. But
Exactly.
I think they want this also. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Be happy to. Blessings to you. Have a wonderful weekend. Okay.
Blessings to you
Okay.
too.
Bye
Okay.
bye.